Welcome back. I'm Brielle, and today I want to talk about my Philodendron collection. I have a handful of philodendrons that I just love. They're not in any particular order. First on the list is my Prince of Orange. This plant is so beautiful. I remember the first time that I came across this Prince of Orange, and the first thing you're going to notice is its bright orange foliage. The orange foliage won't stay on there forever. It's usually when it's just a new leaf unfurling, but it does stay for a good amount of time, so you can really take it in and appreciate it, but eventually it will revert to green. I apologize for the lighting. The sun is right here. When it comes to the Philodendron Prince of Orange, its care is fairly easy. I would say I think beginners could handle it. I did kind of have a hard time at first, but that was because of lighting. So I would say for light, it does like a lot of, to some, direct sun. A lot of sunlight, but I would say like an east-facing window would be great. West-facing window could be good. But if it's not getting any direct sunlight, I feel like it starts to suffer just a little bit. So I would say push it closer to a window, see how that goes. I think they do better in more light. And then as far as watering, I would check on it once a week, see if the soil's dry. Allow the soil to dry out completely before watering it again. I allow the soil to dry out, so when I check on it, I'm looking for dry soil. If the soil's dry, then I will go through and water it, let the water drain out the bottom, and wait till the following week to check in on it. It all depends on the climate, it depends on the season we're in. So if it is colder and it's not getting as much sunlight as it might be, let's say during the winter months, it's not going to need to be watered as much because it's not receiving as much light and it's not as hot, so it's not drying out the soil. Versus the summer months where there's a lot more sun, it's hotter, so the soil will dry out faster, resulting in you watering more often. I would say this could be a good beginner plant, but I had a hard time with it when I first brought one home. It was a little finicky, and I think it had a lot to do with the light that it was receiving. So when I say a beginner plant, I think that plant should be something that is very easy all around to take care of. It's not going to be finicky if it misses a water. It's not going to be finicky if it's not in the right light. That is a beginner plant in my mind. Next on the list is my Philodendron Moonlight. So this plant, I can say, is fairly easy. I feel like I never have to do anything dramatic, or I don't have to keep my eye on it all the time. Just like the Prince of Orange, the new foliage is a lot brighter. So when a new leaf comes out of the Philodendron Moonlight, it's more of like a neon yellow. They're both very beautiful plants, and you should definitely get those. I forgot to say that. Definitely get them if you don't have them. As for care, I would say it's very similar to the, well, actually, maybe the watering is very similar to the Prince of Orange. But as far as light goes, I don't think it needs as much light as the Philodendron Prince of Orange. I have had it in low light spaces, I've had it by the window, and I would honestly say that it doesn't like when it gets as much light as the Prince of Orange. As of right now, my Philodendron Moonlight is getting bright and direct light. It's a good distance away from an east-facing window in my kitchen, but it doesn't receive any direct light, and even the bright and direct light is pretty diffused for the most part, so I would say it can take a little less light than that too. Next on the list is, I feel like there needed to be a drum roll. Next on the list is my Philodendron Micans. As a lot of you know, especially if you follow me on Instagram, I post this one a lot. Um, I'm just obsessed with it. I love all my plants, but I'm obsessed with this one. So as for light, I have mine hanging in my east facing window where it does receive a good amount of morning sun, but then later out the day just receives bright and direct light. I find that it doesn't like west facing windows. At my old house, we had a west facing window and it did not like it. It was burning, the foliage was burning, and it was a whole thing, and I had to move it farther back. So if you have a west facing window, I would say move it a little farther back away to where the sun isn't beaming down on the plant, because that's a lot of heat. Especially east facing sun is a lot. It's not as hot than a west facing window where that's afternoon sun. It's a lot hotter, and so that's going to be a lot on your plant. Did I talk about watering? No, I didn't. So as for watering, I would say same thing, water when the soil is pretty much dry. I just water it till it comes out the bottom, and that's it. That's it. The next day you'll see the leaves perk right back up. That's another thing that I love about most philodendrons that I've noticed is they will show you when they're thirsty. Their leaves will start to wilt and droop, and you just give them some water and they'll plump right back up by morning. Let's talk about my Philodendron Bergen. So this plant, I feel like I never have to do much. It's honestly an easy plant. I think I could definitely recommend it to a beginner plant parent. I really could. It, at least in my opinion, I feel like it doesn't need me that much. Every so often I water it and I leave it, forget about it, and then I remember it and then water it, and the process continues. But as far as light goes, I would say it does want a good amount of light. The Philodendron Birkin has a beautiful striped variegation on its leaves, and to achieve that, it's going to want a good amount of light. So I would say you could do east facing window, west facing window, and then if you do have a north and south, I think putting it close enough to the window, you'll still get the variegation. But in my experience, I've only had it live in an east facing window or a west facing window. As for watering, I let the soil dry out and I water it when it's dry. I check on it. I do check on all of my plants at least once a week to check in on the soil, to see if it's still wet or dry, if it needs water or not. Philodendron Burl Marxie. This one was very interesting. When I first brought it home, it was just a little cutting that I got off of Facebook Market, and it was wrapped in sphagnum moss, so I still had to let it root out for a little bit longer before putting it into some soil. And I mean, it's an easy plant. I feel like I think it grows very slow. It's a plant that I think would appreciate a little more humidity and maybe a little more light. For a while, I did have it in a low light area where it did do okay. It just wasn't thriving. And then I pushed it a little closer to the window, and I am getting a little bit more new growth out of it. So I would say bright and direct light would be the best bet for this plant. As far as watering, it's almost like the Philodendron Birkin, where I feel like I don't need to water as much. I check on it, and the soil takes a little longer to dry, which is okay. It's not showing any stress on the plant, so I'm not going to worry about it. And then when I notice that the soil finally dried up, I give it a water. That's it. The only thing, yes, I would say is I feel like it's a pretty slow grower, but You know, I think that's on me still. I don't think it's the plant. I'm not going to blame the plant. I think it's me. I think fertilizing is a big thing with that one. It might need a little extra energy boost, you know, and I haven't been fertilizing it. So that's me. I'm sorry. I have a lot of plants, so it's a lot. It's hard to get to every single one of them. Next on my philodendron list is my Philodendron melanochrysum. This one, beautiful. Such a beautiful plant. I also bought this one on Facebook Market as a little baby cutting, and it's still a baby. I think it only has like 3 little baby leaves. But yeah, I got it in some sphagnum moss, had to wait for it to root again, but finally let it root, and then I put it into some potting soil. And this one, I put a dome over it because this one does like a lot of humidity. So when it gets bigger, I'm gonna have to figure out what to do. I might push it close to my humidifier that I have. I don't know. When she's a big girl, we'll figure it out. But as of right now, she's still a little baby. That can fit in my glass domes, which is perfect. But yes, I would say humidity is a big thing for this plant. As for light, I have it in my east-facing window where it does receive a lot of morning sun. And then as for watering, I also feel like I don't have to water as often because it is in a glass dome. It's not drying out as fast, so that's a plus. It might be a little different once it's out of its dome and it's just getting humidity from my humidifier. I will keep you guys updated on that, but as for now, it is pretty much very easy to take care of. Next is my Hartley Philodendron. This one is a classic. I feel like it's like the golden pothos of philodendrons. It's so easy. I have a good amount of these. Well, yeah, I have a good amount of these throughout my house because they can survive in anything. You can put them in really dark corners of your house and it's going to be fine. So yes, I would say out of all of the ones that I've listed today, I think the Hartley Philodendron is definitely probably the most beginner friendly. When it comes to light for this plant, I would say it tolerates low light, but it thrives in bright light. So yes, it can live in those darker places in your home, but it's not going to thrive. If you push it closer towards a window, it might do, well, it will do a lot better. And as for watering, this one I definitely let dry out completely before giving it any more water. I do this because it does not like wet feet, I guess is the term. But yeah, if you water it while it's still wet, it takes a little while to recover. It really doesn't like it, so I would suggest just let it dry out completely. You can even tell when it wants water, the leaves will start to wilt and kind of shrivel, and it won't look too hot. It most likely just needs some water, so give that a try. I definitely think if you do not have one, you have to get one. It's a staple in my house, and it definitely fills out those darker places where most other plants probably won't like it. And last but definitely not least is my Philodendron Painted Lady. This one, I was actually shocked to get my hands on this one. I found it at a store when my husband and I were just kind of casually shopping around. The store next to my house had one, and he was so sweet enough to buy it for me. But yeah, love it. It's such a beautiful, beautiful plant, and so far so good. The care on it is fairly easier than I thought it was gonna be. When he bought it for me, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to really be on it. I'm gonna have to make sure it has humidity and all this stuff. And of course, I have a lot of plants, so I wasn't as attentive as I thought I was going to be. But it's fine. It's fine. It didn't need all that humidity or whatever I was thinking I was gonna do. I would say bright and direct light. I have it, where do I have this one right now? Oh, so when I first brought it home, it was like right against my east facing window, where it did fine. Then I moved it a little bit away so I could put my fiddle leaf fig, I think, a little closer, and it still did okay. And right now I have it in my kitchen, still has an east facing window, but it's getting pretty diffused bright light. I think it's going to be okay. I think the only difference is the new growth may be a little smaller, which I'm okay with. That doesn't bother me. But yeah, usually that's the case when it's getting a lot of good light. It's thriving. It's getting bigger leaves. It's probably giving you faster new growth. And then if you push it away from the window, it might get smaller leaves and it won't grow as fast. So, I mean, either way, as long as the plant is still alive, I think it's going to be okay. As for watering, once again, I water when the soil is dry. I do this too with a lot of my plants because I feel like it will eliminate the chance of root rot. And once you get root rot, it's kind of hard to come back from that. So a good way to avoid it is just let the soil dry out as much as you possibly can and then water it. It's a simple solution. I've been doing it since I've started collecting houseplants and it hasn't failed me yet. So give it a try. All right, so that is my philodendrons. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be getting more philodendrons. It's probably my favorite type of variety of plants. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope it was helpful. These videos are meant to be helpful, so let me know if they were. And if you do have any ideas of a next video, definitely let me know. I love seeing your guys' ideas for those, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.